Welcome back, guys, to my series of Indiana Jones reviews leading up to Dial of Destiny coming up. I have already covered Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom. Check those reviews out. Now, we're in the last film in the Indiana Jones trilogy, which is supposed to be the final Indiana Jones movie we got until... Yep, we got more. But I'm going to review Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. This movie came out in 1989, once again directed by Steven Spielberg and produced by George Lucas, with Harrison Ford reprising his role as Indiana Jones, with Sean Connery as Henry Jones Sr., Indiana Jones' dad. Now, I know Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade has been loved by Indiana Jones fans. Some people even say it's their favorite Indiana Jones movie. This is actually my dad's favorite Indiana Jones movie. And in my personal opinion, Raiders of the Lost Ark will always hold a special place in my heart and it'll always be my favorite Indiana Jones movie. But, oh yeah, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is also another great Indiana Jones film. And I would even say this is almost as good as Raiders of the Lost Ark. Because definitely Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is much more human than the last two Indiana Jones movies. We get to see Indiana Jones that we haven't seen him in the movies before. Him as a person. And I gotta say, The Last Crusade, I can understand. I can really understand why people say this is their favorite. I can understand because this is honestly another one of my favorite movies of all time because The Last Crusade does everything right to conclude this trilogy. I would say Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, in my opinion, has one of the best opening scenes in the Indiana Jones series. Don't get me wrong, the opening scene of Raiders of the Lost Ark is iconic as hell, but I would say the opening scene of this movie is even better. We get to see a bunch of explorers find the cross of Coronado, and we see like a shadowy shot of a guy with a hat and leather jacket thinking it is Indiana Jones, but it isn't Indiana Jones, it's just another explorer. And the fact about that character is that he was supposed to be Mary Ann's father. They were meant to make him as Mary Ann's father in this movie, but they didn't. That would have been much more interesting. But after that is revealed, we get to see the young version of Indiana Jones played by the late River Phoenix. And man, for the small role that River Phoenix has got, he is so fantastic portraying the young Harrison Ford in this movie. He really understands Indiana Jones so well. The first line he said, "That belongs in a museum." River Phoenix really performed the young version of Indiana Jones so well, and the opening scene is basically Indiana Jones' very first adventure. We get this awesome train chase scene. Basically, Indiana Jones is running from these explorers to basically retrieve the cross of Coronado, and it's basically a moment of how Indiana Jones becomes Indiana Jones. How he's afraid of snakes, how he got the whip, even how he got the Indiana Jones hat. Even though it is a bit convenient that he has all that stuff all in one day, I thought that opening train chase scene was just a lot of freaking fun. But Last Crusade doesn't just have one opening scene, it also has two opening scenes of Indiana Jones both trying to retrieve this idol. Harrison Ford returning as Indiana Jones, retrieving the exact same idol that was in the opening scene. That whole boat scene was a lot of fun in this movie, and I gotta say, for the opening scenes that this movie has got, it ups the stakes from the first two movies, and it becomes the most fun opening scenes that I've seen in Indiana Jones movies. Now, the main plot of The Last Crusade is that Indiana Jones must find a new artifact, the Holy Grail. We get to introduce to Walter Donovan, another great Indiana Jones villain played by Julian Glover. At first, he's basically telling Indiana Jones what this idol is and why it needs to be retrieved, and we also find out that the Holy Grail is also being searched by his father, Henry Jones Sr., but unfortunately, his father has gone missing while searching for the Holy Grail, and he knows about the Holy Grail. So not just Indiana Jones has to find the Holy Grail, but he also has to find his father, which we get back to Sean Connery later because, man, I'm excited to talk about him. We also get to introduce to Alison Schneider, played by Alison Doody, and I gotta say, first of all, she's definitely the most attractive love interest in the Indiana Jones movie. She is gorgeous in this movie, but I would say she's definitely the most interesting the love interest in this movie. We think she's going to be another sidekick that Indiana Jones goes with and another love interest until later on we find out that she's part of the Nazis and she's one of the villains of the movie. I find that very interesting with her character, and Alison Doody does a really good job in this movie. She's very seductive, but she's also very smart in this film. Basically betraying Indiana Jones and also betraying Henry Jones. I thought her character was very mischievous, and I really like that about her character. It's good that she's not another love interest for the sake of another love interest in the Indiana Jones movies. Steven Spielberg knows how to written her character, basically try to do something a bit different. We get this really awesome temple scene where Indiana Jones and Elsa tries to find basically where the Holy Grail is, and another creepy crawly in this film, rats. Yep, this made me also fear of rats. That's what I liked about this series. They use creepy crawlies to make them as scary as they actually are. I was scared of snakes in Raiders of the Lost Ark, I was scared of bugs in Temple of Doom, and now I was scared of rats in The Last Crusade. And we also get this really awesome boat chase scene where basically Indiana Jones also is trying to avoid the Nazis after them, avoiding two boats basically crushing to each other.
Are you crazy? Don't go between them! Go between them, are you crazy?
And a scene where Indiana Jones is interrogating this guy while this big boat propeller is trashing the boat. Again, with the action scenes in The Last Crusade, it's fantastic. But now, I'm going to talk about what makes this movie just this iconic, and another one of my favorites in the Indiana Jones series, Sean Connery as Henry Jones Sr. This is, to me, my favorite role that Sean Connery is in. Don't get me wrong, he's iconic as Bond, love him in Hunt Red October, love him in The Rock, but this is the performance that I will remember Sean Connery in. Rest in peace, Sean Connery. Just the way they introduce Henry Jones Sr. in this movie is just fantastic. He hits Indiana Jones with his vase, and it's a fake vase. Junior? Don't call me that, please. And of course, with his lines deliveries, the writers have to end every sentence of his with S and H as possible. Because it's Sean Connery, you know, he has that strong Connery voice. She talks in her sleep. And I gotta say, Sean Connery's performance as Henry Jones Sr. is probably one of the most iconic performances in the Indiana Jones series. And the chemistry between Harrison Ford and Sean Connery in this movie is fantastic. And one of the things I loved about this movie is that, I forgot to even mention, it goes back to the tropes of Raiders of the Lost Ark, that this movie is a treasure hunting movie. But this is also a father and son story, about a father and son that don't connect that well, and they're trying to reconnect with each other. And just the chemistry between Harrison Ford and Sean Connery is just magnificent in this film. It's perfect casting, perfect timing, their acting is straight on point in this movie, and you really feel they are father and son in this movie. If I was living in the 80s and finding that Sean Connery is playing Indiana Jones' dad, I would already say that's perfect casting because he's such a great actor, and him betraying Indiana Jones' dad is just fantastic and flawless. Dad? What? Dad? What? I even love the scenes in this movie where Indiana Jones tries to impress his dad during this bike chase scene where he knocks out all the goons. He looks at his dad, thinking he's going to be all impressed and all, and he wasn't. I would even also say the humor in this movie is definitely on point. That's what makes the chemistry so well done in this film. There is one scene that is, of course, one of the most iconic funny scenes in the whole movie. Of course, the no ticket scene.
No ticket.
No ticket! And everyone just freaking grabs their tickets. It's just that iconic. But I would also say the action in The Last Crusade is on point. The action scenes in The Last Crusade are also fantastic. Like I mentioned, the opening scene, the boat chase scene, also the plane scene in this movie is just hysterical but awesome in the film. And of course, every Indiana Jones movie has to have an iconic chase scene. Like Raiders of the Lost Ark, we have the truck chase. Temple of Doom, we have the minecart. This movie, we have a tank scene, where basically Indiana Jones has to save his father, and also Marcus Brody, that I haven't mentioned in my Raiders of the Lost Ark review. He's one of the guys that tells Indiana Jones about the Ark of the Covenant, and now in this movie, he joins a lot of the journey with Sala as well, and Sala is just great to see him back, and he's so good in this movie. But back to the tank chase scene, Indiana Jones tries to save his dad from the tank. He fights off the Nazi goons, basically shooting all 3 Nazis with 1 bullet. Like, how does Deadpool not make fun of that? And of course, fighting the giant Nazi goon. A tank scene, it's just great. And I would say this movie definitely ups the stakes more for Indiana Jones, because this movie definitely has some near-death experiences with Indiana Jones in this movie. There are points in this movie where I thought Indiana Jones might die. This movie definitely ups the stakes more than the other 2 movies when it comes to the action. And I would also say this is definitely the most emotional movie in the Indiana Jones trilogy, because of course, Indiana Jones, they humanize him a lot more. Try and basically put the relationship between him and his father back together. Of course, talking about his mother's past. And even though they don't connect well, Indiana Jones still cares about his father. That shows that Indiana Jones also has a heart side in him. He's not just this badass archaeologist, he's a person that loves archaeology and cares for other people. And of course, one of the most emotional scenes in The Last Crusade, after the tank scene, the tank went off the cliff with the most iconic screams of all time. And we get to see Henry Jones seeing his son, thinking he is going to die with Sulla and Marcus Brody. He's in grief, and we find out that Indiana Jones is alive. He's right behind him, and seeing Henry Jones hugging him with a big grin smile on his face, it always tears me up every single time. And of course, the third act in The Last Crusade is also fantastic. I would even say it's my favorite third act as well in the Indiana Jones series, because it definitely ups the stakes. Donovan shot Henry Jones. Of course, Indiana Jones has to get the Holy Grail to heal his father, so he goes through different obstacle courses, and that's what's great about this third act. We get to see Indiana Jones go through obstacles and having his own adventure to save his dad. Great third act. And then we get to the Holy Grail. The old knight that's guarding the Holy Grail. That iconic scene, choose wisely. We get to see Walter Donovan choosing one of the artifacts and getting to see him die with old age. It's definitely a terrifying practical scene that's really well done. Of course, with Elsa Schneider just fearing the heck out of it. And of course, we get to see Indiana Jones grab the Holy Grail, resurrect his father. And I gotta say, Holy Grail itself as an artifact is another iconic artifact in the Indiana Jones series. With, of course, the Ark of the Covenant, but I would say the Holy Grail is another great artifact in the Indiana Jones series, and I would definitely remember this artifact. And the final act is definitely another happy, emotional scene, where Indiana Jones is holding for dear life, trying to grab the Holy Grail, but of course, Henry Jones Sr. calls him Indiana for the first time, because of course throughout most of this movie he calls him Junior. With the first time he's saying Indiana, he sacrifices the artifact and basically cares about his father. And it's just really well done. Again, the father and son story of The Last Crusade is just that fantastic. And the ending scene with this iconic shot with Indy, Sulla, Marcus Brody, and Henry Jones just riding their horses through the sunset, thinking that this is going to be the last Indiana Jones movie we've ever got. And yep, we're not done yet. Overall, guys, Indiana Jones The Last Crusade is definitely another great Indiana Jones movie in the trilogy. I would even say this is better than Temple of Doom, honestly. Because it goes back to its treasure hunting tropes, while also being a personal story about a father and son going on this adventure and trying to reconnect with one another. Harrison Ford once again does a great job as Indiana Jones. Sean Connery, though, as Henry Jones Sr., just steals the entire movie. You know, sharing your adventures is a really excellent experience. The villains are great. The action in this movie is great. The story from start to finish is definitely very personal and up the stakes than the other movies. And I can really understand why people say this is their favorite in the series. Still, Raiders of the Lost Ark is my favorite, but yep, if I would rank this movie, this is definitely my second of the Indiana Jones franchise, because this is another great Indiana Jones movie that's also one of my favorite movies of all time. And I'm going to give the same rating I give to Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm going to give Indiana Jones The Last Crusade an A+. Honestly, Raiders of the Lost Ark is still my favorite, but, you know, The Last Crusade, come on. It's still a great film, and it's still one of the greatest movies of all time, and a movie that I will remember also in the Indiana Jones trilogy. So that's it, guys. We covered the Indiana Jones trilogy. Dial of Destiny. Lex reviewed it. Oh, yeah. I still have CGI monkeys to review in the Indiana Jones series, and the Shia LaBeouf of them all. So, yep, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, that review is coming up very, very soon. But guys, what do you think of the Indiana Jones trilogy, and what is your favorite in the trilogy? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you guys follow me on social media links down below. Keep contact with me, and make sure you guys subscribe to my channel for my latest movie reviews and other movie-related content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and whoosh, have a nice day.